And welcome back, folks. The Ray program, 844-RAY Show. We talk a lot about longevity risk on this program. We're going to be talking about it more at our upcoming summit, the Accredited Investors Summit, coming to Portland, Oregon, Saturday, May 30th. We get started at 8 a.m. with did I mention? It was a free breakfast, omelet bar, the whole 10 yards. It's going to be awesome at the Hotel Monaco, which I have stayed at before. Fantastic hotel. AccreditedInvestorsSummit.com. Go there right now and you'll get a chance to meet in person Mr. Gene Pastula, or call 888-629-1299. He will be one of our panelists. It's a great program. We did one in Seattle last month. I think we're going to be heading out to Northern California possibly next month. But go to AccreditedInvestorsSummit.com, 888-629-1299. If you want to attend, you do have to register and you must be accredited. And then you get the free breakfast. Hey, did you put on any weight in Italy? Oh. Gene's been in Italy and Sicily for like the past 2 weeks. That was the first email that I sent him, is how much weight did you gain? He said he's not going to weigh himself for another 2 weeks.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah, but we had a great time. And,
I'm glad you're back.
It's really good to be back. I like to be home under my own blankie.
Yeah, no kidding. I can't do 2 weeks. I've done it before, like once. And after, like you, 6 or 7 days, I get really, really, really antsy. But you went to my favorite country of all, Italy, and yes. I told my wife that someday, when we're as rich and famous as Gene Pastula, that I would take her on a 2-week trip to Italy.
Well, we've spent one night on the Isle of Capri,
which is very nice.
I'd been to before, but with another group and not with my wife. So that was a special thing to bring her there and show her that place. And
did you tell your wife you were there with somebody else once upon a time?
We didn't get into that. We just got, I just...
Okay, so I'm sure you heard me rant on this whole super centenarian thing, longevity thing. It was a good tease for you because you're in the business of helping advisors. This was in investment news. I don't know if you caught it. What extreme longevity will mean for the advice industry. You travel the country and field phone calls from advisors. You're the advisor's advisor. And I know you believe this and believe in this. And are you now vindicated on the fact that you've been talking about annuitizing income for as long as I have?
Yeah, and I want to find out where they get those mice.
The mice that they inject, the younger mice.
Mice blood.
Well, they're doing it with humans. If you missed that, the researchers are pumping the old mice with young mice's blood, and it's making a huge difference in the mice longevity. And now they're starting to do that with humans, and they're finding potentially similar results. So people are just simply living longer irrespective of all of this research.
You know, it's interesting. The biggest problem is getting people to pay attention to this and understand these things far enough in advance so they can do something about it. We have, I'm in a business that basically nobody pays attention to until it's too late.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like well, I don't want to do an analogy because I don't do those very well. But the bottom line is that, they start thinking about retirement seriously and paying attention to it, like 3 years before they're going to retire, and then they look and see that they don't have anything and they want to fix it. Or they go into retirement with the wrong kind of understanding of what needs to happen and what they're facing, and then particularly from a health point of view, and as well as longevity, and then what happens? They get sick and want to have benefits and what have you, and well, it's too late. People aren't going to do that.
It's interesting. This article says when people were asked whether they would want to use potential medical treatments that would slow aging and extend life, 56% of them said no thanks.
Yeah, I'm probably in that category too, because I've paid attention to this for all my life. When you're 25 years old and you're thinking about aging and retiring and dying all the time, it's a sad life.
That is absolutely true.
But
56% said, I don't even care about the treatment. I'm going to croak. I'm going to croak.
Yeah.
I'm in the other camp. I want to live for as long as I can possibly live, as long as I'm healthy. Now, if I'm not healthy, go ahead, shoot me, do something else with me. But I want to live until I'm 120 if I can, healthy.
Yeah. The problem is, or the issues that you face are obviously, there's a difference between health and conditioning, health and condition.
Sure.
If you hurt all the time and you're limited in what you can do. I noticed it this time on my trip, places that I used to go, stairs I used to climb, towers I used to view from. No, not so much. I don't think I'll do that now.
Yeah, but put some of that mice blood in you, you never know.
Who knows? So if all that changes, perhaps the attitudes will change. But of the 56% and myself, but I think that depending on how you live the first part of your life can determine a lot about that attitude. But the point is that when it comes to money and your personal finances and all the rest of the stuff, you really have to pay attention to the important things. And I just get so frustrated when I see people and all they're interested in is the next stock run, the rate of return and all this. That's not where the action is.
Well, you're absolutely right, and of course we've talked about sequence risk on this program before. Your rate of return means a lot during the accumulation phase. During the decumulation phase, it's not so much the rate of the return. It's the level of consistency. In other words, 3 or 4 or 5% consistently every year without those big down years, because a big down year can mess up many up years when you're withdrawing money from the account. And we've proven that many, many times over when we discuss sequence risk. But Jonathan Clements wrote about a week ago in the Wall Street Journal, investments that help retirees maximize income. And of course, he's talking about, number one, using some of your money to extend or delay taking Social Security, which is a really good inflation-adjusted annuity if you live long enough. But then he says, step number 2, after you do that, buy an annuity that pays income for life. Now, he's not a huge fan of them. I've followed him for years. In fact, I've spoken with him once before. But when we talk about annuities, immediate fixed annuities, deferred income annuities, variable annuities with living benefits, and interestingly enough, he left off the fixed annuity with living benefits. Why? Because he's a journalist. He's a journalist. He's not Gene Pastula. So when we come back, we're going to ask Gene Pastula about the fourth option, which is a fixed annuity that doesn't go down in value, but could go up in value and still provide you a guaranteed income for life. For those that are faint of heart with respect to the stock market and don't like big fees for the annuitization features, you might want to pay attention. That's all next. 844-RAY-SHOW, 844-729-7469. If you have a question for Gino or my bad self, we'll be back. So what do long lifespans mean for your money? Hi, everybody. Welcome back. The Ray Lucia Show, 844-RAY-SHOW. If you have a question for Gene Pastula, he's a certified financial planner. And as I said, he's the advisor's advisor. He doles out advice to advisors in the fixed insurance arena. And we've talked about product diversification many, many times with Gene on this program. But Gene, I was alluding to an article written not too long ago by Jonathan Clements, who basically said you need to extend when you take your Social Security. That was his number one recommendation. He's a journalist. And then he said, well, we need to take some of your money and put it into different annuity contracts. And he went through the fixed lifetime income annuity. He discussed the variable annuities with guaranteed minimum withdrawal benefits. and a couple of others. But he did not talk about fixed indexed annuities, and I'm curious as to what your take is. Oh, he talked about deferred income annuities, where you buy it today and at age 85, it starts making a payment to you. I'm not a huge fan of that type of an annuity, but I've preached for years now on this program, you should take, and I've used a 25 to 30% allocation typically. When you start going through the longevity numbers that I've done so far today, it's a no-brainer to put into the portfolio. But why not the fixed index annuity?
Well, I think in most cases, people like him and most financial advisors who are involved in investing in the stocks and stocks and bonds and that sort of thing, just simply don't understand it. It isn't in their basket of solutions, if you will, and they don't understand it, so they don't even bring it up. In fact, it's interesting, whenever you read an article in the lay press about annuities, sooner or later, if you're like me, sooner or later you get down and you realize that the person writing it is referring to a variable annuity. That's basically
that's
what
true.
they know.
Because they talk about the high fees and the big commissions and all that stuff.
Exactly. And here's an interesting thing, because you've brought up a subject that I see happening all the time, is this idea of, okay, that's no good. That's an annuity is a product, and it's expensive, and it's just not appropriate. You're getting ripped off. The salesman's making commission, et cetera, et cetera. There's two different ways of approaching annuities. One is obviously when somebody comes to you and says, come to our seminar, we're going to feed you dinner and we're going to educate you about annuities, and they have an annuity that they want to sell. All right, and so in that particular case, it may or may not be appropriate for you, but they're there to sell it, so they're going to make it work. Annuities are a broad spectrum of products. The key being that they're efficient in the cash accumulation and tax deferral situation for the future at rates of return that are respectable or competitive. And they are capable of promising you and delivering a lifetime paycheck in retirement. Those are the two things that they do. And now within that realm, there's like dozens and dozens of them that do it differently and what have you, that you really need to understand that, okay, what do I really want? I want some specificity in my planning. I want some predictability of the results, and I want guarantees, and I want to know that this is good. I'm not going to regret having done this 5 years or 10 years, or when the market goes crazy or what have you. That's what I'm looking for. All right, now from that perspective, then we go in and we look at these different plans. As you brought up, the indexed annuity, indexed annuity is an incredible product. Everybody who invests in the stock market, if you told them, look, I'm going to be able to guarantee that you will not lose any money when I invest for you, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to participate in a increasing market. All right, so you get upside, but no downside. And when that happens, people's eyes bug out. Well, you can't even do that. Well, no, the stockbroker can't do it. He can try and he can go to that direction, but the insurance industry can. And the insurance industry can basically say to you, pick an index, the S&P or any one of Moody's or whatever, because they can give you a whole list of them, and say, when that index goes up, your interest rate on your annuity is going to go up. And when the interest rate is a loss, you'll just stay at where you were until the next time the index goes up. Well, how cool is that? All right, now, will I get a 20% return on the time that the index goes up 20%? Absolutely not. I've got to pay for that in some way. But when you set side by side an opportunity like that doesn't have any downside against a typical investment that goes up and down and up and down and up and down, you'll see invariably that first one that doesn't have the downside will either perform as easily as well or better than the option.
Yeah, and what you showed me months ago, a couple of years ago actually, some of these fixed contracts that are annuities that are similar to the variables in that you get a guaranteed minimum withdrawal benefit, but with a variable annuity, the account balance goes down. You're never getting a bump for inflation.
Right.
But on the fixed indexed annuity that you showed me, that even in a down year, you may not get an increase that year, but in the up years, even if all of the money has been drained out of the contract, and I think people need to understand that if you live long enough, there's probably not going to be any money left in the annuity contract, because that's just a fact of life. If you're taking out, 4, 5, 6% per year,
7, 8% in some cases, depending
exactly.
on your age.
But what you showed me was so fascinating to me, because I'm used to seeing the variables where if the market goes up and your account balance goes up, then you get a 5% or whatever of the higher balance. I get that. But if the market goes down early in the contract, you ain't never getting a raise. On the one you showed me, because you're protected on the downside, almost every year that there was an increase in the market, you got a respective increase in your income. So it almost looked like an inflation. It's not inflation index, but it almost looked like an inflation adjustment almost every year on the contract. And that to me was exciting.
Yeah, I think one of the other areas that's confusing to people, because the way this thing is presented so often is it's basically like, okay, I can show you a way to get the results of the stock market without any downside, all the ups and none of the downs. What this truly is it's an interest rate formula that the insurance company can use to determine what the interest is going to be that they're going to pay you year by year on your money. They put in a minimum, typically 2%, what have you. So for sure it'll get that over a period of time. But basically, they're basically utilizing this opportunity and the way they invest in the market to get you higher interest rates, in this environment, 3, 4, 5, 6%. And when the market goes up sufficiently, and when it goes down, it just stays there and waits for the next up. So when you look at that on an overall period of time, it's very, very impressive. One other thing, one of the confusing things about people talking about annuity income is that they're going to give the insurance company their money, and they're going to give them paychecks until they die, and that's the end of it. And the insurance company, if you don't live long enough, keeps your extra money. That is just totally not the case, except for in one particular annuity form.
Right.
Every other one, for sure, you'll get all your money back. And in the index annuity, you'll get, my mother has one. I mean, this is the greatest thing. She will have an income if she's 92 years old now. She'll have an income if she lives to 115 or 20. Now, all of her money will be used up by the time she's 103 or 104 at the current rate. But if she's still alive, the insurance company will pay it. If she dies next year, we will receive, my sister and I, the remainder of her balance that she hasn't taken in that annuity. And yet, so she's got the guarantee for life and the fact that she's not going to give the money away.
Folks, you want to talk to this fellow, go to safemoneymonitor.com. Shoot him an email. He's back in town now. I know if you've been waiting for him. He's been drinking fine wine all over Italy and Sicily. Safemoneymonitor.com. You can also ask him about some of the other fixed contracts that compete with CDs. We talked with his partner, Tim Morton, about one last week. Paid like 3%, and you can get to your cash like 15% a year. They're not a bad deal. Are you making 3% on your CD?
Yeah. I got something to sell you. It's not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal at all. We'll be back with some emails. Don't go away. Thank you, Gino.
You're welcome.
SafeMoneyMonitor.com.